I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Hi everybody, it's Ron here from The Truth About Addiction. Mikaela is a friend of mine, and I've asked her to come on and do our podcast because I'm sure that she's going to help lots of other beautiful young ladies seek something better themselves than destroying their lives with active addiction. So, Mikaela, welcome to The Truth About Addiction, darling.
Thank you.
What's your story, please?
Yeah, so I grew up in Melbourne. I grew up in a pretty rough sort of area. It was a place called Broadmeadows, and it was really quite common for all of us to start drinking and using quite early. I started drinking when I was about 12 years old. I think the thing was the way that I was using and drinking wasn't normal. It wasn't the way everybody else was doing it. It was to extremes, and it was very out of control. And I really struggled in school. I didn't even finish year 9. I got asked to do the rest of it at a home school, and I barely did anything. I think I finally just passed year 9, but I went to my first rehab at 17, and I was introduced to a 12-step fellowship through that. I've been in and out ever since for 10 years. I did know from the first meeting that I went to that I definitely was an addict. It wasn't even just the using for me. It was like the extreme behavior. My moods were just crazy. I was such an angry kid. I just had so much pent up frustration, and I really took it out on the people that I loved the most, and I was quite uncontrollable really young. And like now, through work that I've done, I know that that's a reaction to trauma. I know that I wasn't born wrong, or each time I went out there and started using again, it just got worse. It never went slowly. I never went out and started using for a little while and thought, oh, this is nice and this is fun. Like, it was like I ruined my life and took down everything I had in the first 10 days of using, and then I just kept using from that shame and that self-hatred. And I've tried to get clean in rehabs, and I've tried to get clean in fellowships. And I think for me, like, I always had the desire to stop using. I just didn't have that full-blown gift of desperation that I had from my last relapse. The unmanageability was so clear in my life from so young. But that powerlessness, I just couldn't grasp that properly. I just couldn't understand how I was so powerless. In my last relapse, I was so sick of hanging out, and I hated it that I got into this agreement maybe with a man. I gave him everything I had because he had the drugs to supply me, so I didn't have to hang out. And it got to the point where I signed over a power of attorney to him for financial and mental health matters. So he had like complete control of my life. That was the moment that I fully experienced that powerlessness of this disease. It was really scary that the lengths that I was willing to go to keep using. I'd called rehabs before I entered that agreement. I'm going to call it, because it wasn't really a relationship. It was an agreement. One day they called when I was using, and it was just like this moment that I thought, oh, I have a chance out here. I have a way out. I went to rehab, and I did 6.5 months because I didn't do it easy. It was really, really hard. And I really, I made my time there really count. Like, I let every behavior come up. I let every, situation in my life that I needed to work through. I didn't have my family, so I didn't have to really worry about them. I didn't have any children, so I didn't have to worry about that. I just needed to spend time in an institution for a long period of time to really learn to live again. I had no idea how to. That got me clean, and I made sure I didn't leave any stone unturned while I was in there. Yeah, now in the real world, I'm still in a halfway house at the moment, and I'm doing another 6 months here. So it's like a year of treatment sort of up my sleeve to figure out how to live and how to get comfortable in my own skin. Because since I was 11 years old, I have been so uncomfortable in my own skin. Like I've wanted to tear my skin off at sometimes. I was a dancer when I was younger, and I had a lot of passion in that. When I started using drugs, I lost that. I lost that passion for it. Just remembering some of that stuff from before I started using, and yeah, I've found this journey to be the most challenging thing that I've ever experienced. Sometimes I think using was sometimes easier than this, but I don't think I'd be doing it right if it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to be in a 12-step fellowship now and continuing my journey even though I'm out of rehab.
Yeah, no, cool. People would look at you and they think, why would a pretty intelligent young lady want to use drugs? And I try to explain to people it's got nothing to do with our outsides, it's got to do with our insides. It's what our brain tells us, the lies that our insidious, horrible, diseased brain tells us. You're not worthy, you're never going to get anybody else, you're not lovable, I'm not pretty. That song, Am I Not Pretty Enough? I got a sponsor who sings that to me all the time. He's a boy, and he's a big brute of 100 kilo. He's usually got a beard. He rings me up and he goes, Am I not pretty enough? Am I just too broken? And I say, you're fucked. You're broken, And I've been working with him since he was 17 years old. He's 34 now.
Mm.
And he's been clean. I think he's clean 12 years and getting married. And these are the miracles. This is why I love what we do. This is why I love this incredible thing called recovery, because I see miracles.
Mm.
I've watched you change over the last X amount of months, and, it's just a real reward for someone like myself to see other people getting this gift, this incredible new journey. I like the word you use, journey, because it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. It's all about the destination's irrelevant. We don't know where we're going to go, and but you touched on, you did dancing. Was that ballet dancing or jazz or?
Yeah, I did ballet and tap.
Yeah, my oldest daughters both did that, and one was really, really good at I think it was jazz.
Yeah.
And then she found drugs, and
Mm.
and then the other one was really good at ballet, and she found a boy. They both just sort
One
of
or the
like,
other.
yeah, we're not going down this road, I have twin daughters. They're 40 years of age this year, and they're growing up in the same house, same private schools. One's an addict in recovery, one's not.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, so I don't understand. They go, oh, it's hereditary, it's from this, it's from that. Well, I'm sorry. I've been dealing with drug and alcohol addiction for 41 years in recoveries, and I have 40-year-old twin daughters. One's an addict, one's not an addict. So don't tell me it's hereditary. Don't tell me it's because of the socio-economic environment that you were brought up in. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It's got to do with something was in my child when she was born that made her susceptible to addiction. So her mother's an addict and I'm an addict, but
Yeah. Wow.
one of the kids is not an addict.
No.
She says she puts the fun into functional.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. She goes, I put the fun into functional, She's run her own companies for her whole life. She's very successful in what she does. Great mum, great wife. And then I look at my other one who's now, she's in recovery. She's a beautiful human being. She always has been. But fuck, she was like you said, she was angry. She was just rebelling against the world, man. She could fight. The trouble is I teach my children to fight. So she could actually fight. So she'd knock guys out at pubs and shit like that. Some guy'd say something to her assistant, she'd just sit them on their ass. Pretty embarrassing, for some, labourer to be working in the pub, getting knocked on his ass by some pretty young blonde girl, like you shut your goose, bang, and be like, and then it'd be on full on brawls in the pubs and that. I did a podcast with her last month and I found out stuff I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Because as a parent, we don't see it.
No.
And I'm in the business of helping people get clean. And she was the last person I could help. I had to say to my mates, can you please help her? I'm her dad. What would I know?
Yeah.
And now we have this incredible, beautiful relationship because of recovery. And, I have this 18-year-old granddaughter who's 18 in a couple of weeks' time, and she's a good mum. And so, but she never got clean till she was your age.
Yeah.
I've
heard a couple of people getting clean at 27, so I'm hoping it's the lucky
I
number.
did too. I got clean at 27.
Yeah, I think it was you. Yeah.
I got clean at 27. I went to rehab in 1981.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's the lucky number.
I was only 3.
Yeah.
I was 3 years old when I went to rehab in 81.
Really?
Yeah, I was only 3, God.
I'm not good at maths, so I would have believed.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I was 27 when I went to rehab.
Yeah.
1981. So yeah, it is a pretty good number. A lot of people get clean around that age. Because what happens is,
well, it's better than the alternative of the 27 club. So
yeah. If we don't stop using, eventually we die.
Yeah.
Jails, institutions, and death. And I have no doubt that that's correct because I've been around long enough to watch it. And I've also noticed that with young women is that if they don't get clean by a certain age, a lot of them don't get clean. They just seem to miss that boat, and it's just sad. It's just really, and and young guy. To me, this disease doesn't care about your sex, your creed, your religion, your lack of religion, sexual preferences. It's got nothing to do with that, As I just said, twin daughters, one's an addict, one's not an addict, But for me, the biggest thing that I found was what you said was the desperation. You've got to be desperate. And you've got to maintain that desperation by remembering the last week you're using.
Definitely. I think that's been the driving force sometimes, is just remembering how desperate I really was,
That what you said blew me away when you said you signed over your power of attorney to another human being. I did it to my disease.
Yeah.
I signed over my power of attorney to the disease many, many years ago,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Going
on.
That makes sense, saying that, because you think about it, and like all of your using does have makes decisions about your mental health and your financial. So it's the exact same as, having a human do that.
Yeah, except for the human was manipulating for benefit for himself.
Yeah.
The disease was just trying to destroy me.
Yeah.
The disease wasn't trying to control me. It was controlling me. But the thing about my disease, I always relate my disease to a cat. You see a cat plays with a mouse, and he won't kill it. He'll just play with it for days. And then he'll let the mouse lay there for an hour, and he'll just lay there and watch it. As soon as the mouse goes to move, he'll jump on it again. Yeah. That's what my disease was like.
Yeah.
It didn't want to kill me.
No.
Otherwise, I'd be dead. It didn't want to kill me. I've only ever OD'd twice in my life. And once somebody else mixed up the dope when I just got out of jail, so I had no tolerance at all.
Yeah.
He'd mixed it up and I had a shot and I OD'd. It was really lucky. A girl came in. I'd been, I just got out of jail, so of course there's a girl involved. So, the next morning I'll get up, my mate's mixing up a shot. And I'm about to put it away, and this girl comes out of the bedroom. Where's mine? And I'm like, squirt a little bit in the spoon for give her probably a third or something. Not even that,
Greedy.
Yeah, greedy. Give her a little squirt, and we both OD'd. If I'd given her the squirt, I probably would have been dead.
Definitely.
Yeah, I shot myself up, and then I shot her up, and then we both just collapsed.
How many incidents do we have like that in our lives? I think about times like that too, and it's
insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
And then we keep going back for more.
Yeah, I say to people, they say about the definition of insanity is making the same mistake and expecting different results.
Yeah.
I talk about the insanity is when I've scored dope and I've got it mixed in a spoon and it's floating. And you've been ripped off, but you still put it away. You'll only put half away because I'm not.
Yeah, because you don't want to do too much damage.
Yeah, I only put half away, and then you put the other half away as well after, and think, I should have put it all away because maybe I would have got something out of that. Yeah. I was talking to someone just before. I asked them to come on and do a podcast with me, and she was like, "Oh, a lot of the women are scared to come on and do podcasts. I don't know if it's for vanity. I don't know what it is. It's irrelevant. I don't need to know." And she said, "Oh." And I said, "Listen to this story. I had a message the other day come through on my messenger, and it said, You know, thank you very much. You're the field marshal of recovery. I love you. And this is someone I don't know. She says, I love you so much. I was 10 days into my withdrawal from methadone and I wanted to give up, and I heard your podcast.
Wow.
And I've stayed strong and got through the withdrawal, and now I'm going to meetings.
Good on her.
That's enough. That's why we do these podcasts. People say, how many listeners you got? I say, I don't know.
Yeah. Don't care.
Yeah. I don't do it for that reason.
No.
My motivation is not to make money. My motivation is not to reach the wider society. My motivation is to reach the addict who still suffers.
Yeah.
That's my whole motivation towards everything I do, is motivated by carrying the message that was carried to me freely. In 1981, a guy came to prison, and a mate of mine was in rehab, and he said to me, he wrote me a letter. He goes, if you put half as much effort into getting clean as you do using, you'll be able to get clean. And I'd spent all my life in prison. And he was really smart. He got 3 young girls to start writing me letters from the rehab, and I'm in jail. So I'm like, I'll come to rehab. Motivation was purely because there was women there.
They weren't there when you got there.
Yeah, no, they were. It was really nice. They were there. But this guy came out every week and came to the Supreme Court and tried to get me bail. So the therapeutic value of one addict helping another was out parallel. But the ironic part is, when he first came to visit me, I thought he was an undercover cop because he talked about himself, but he was talking about me. And I'm thinking, he's good, this guy. He's done his homework. He's done his homework, this guy. He knows all about how I feel, how I think. I didn't understand the disease of addiction. I didn't understand how addicts understand each other. And I came back to the yard one day and I said to these guys, is anyone here a junkie? And this guy goes, yeah. I said, you need to help me because I've got to con this guy to pretend I'm a junkie so I can get to rehab so I can run away. So that's what I was going to do. I was going to get to rehab and run away, Yeah. And fast forward 41 years, I'm now that guy, sitting there telling people, this is how you're going to feel, this is what you're going to think, and this is what you're going to, It's like, how does he know that? And so it's really funny when I counsel young guys through my program, they start telling me bullshit, I start laughing.
Because
I say, mate, that book you're reading? I wrote that book. I wrote that book 40 years ago, motherfucker. Yeah. You're talking to the wrong guy. If you think you're going to bullshit me and piss in my pocket and tell me it's raining, it's not happy, So what's your plans for the future?
For the first time in my life, I think, and I don't know if it's like finally accepting a bit of faith and trust in the process. I'm actually okay. Like, just what I'm doing. I'm going to leave the halfway house in about 2.5 months, and I'm hopefully going to move out with one of the girls that I've done the program with, and that we've sort of stayed clean through all of this together. And I like my job. I just work at a cafe 3 days a week. I have a little car that gets me from A to B. Yeah. It rattles, but it gets me from A to B.
I rattle. It's okay. Going,
At one point when I was 19, after a rehab, I did actually manage to get 3.5 years clean time up. And I just had to fill my life. So I got married and I did the job and I did this and I got all my family back. And really, like, inside, I was just crawling to get out. And obviously I ended up using and lost all of that.
Yep.
Really hurt my husband in the process. Like, I lost my registration in nursing because I was using on the job, and I was taking medication, and I got deregistered, and I lost my family again. And so I'm sort of just okay with just seeing how this goes. Yeah.
Do you know you can get your registration back?
Yeah, it's a long process. I
had a friend do it. I had a lady friend who's done the same thing.
Yeah.
She blew everything. She got clean, and then she busted. And she went and she got up front and told them all. And then she relapsed, and then they kicked her out. And then she went and got it all back. And then the funny part is she's in recovery. She's been in recovery for a few years now. She became a stand-up comedian.
Oh, really?
After she got it all back, she was like, "Fuck this." Now she lives in Cambridge. She's a stand-up comedian. Yeah. But you can get all that stuff back, But
definitely,
just for the day, all you got to do is worry about just for the day.
Yeah.
For the day, I'm grateful. Just for the day, I'm happy that I've got something to put my head, and just for the day, my head's not in control of what I think and what I feel and what I do.
have a bit of gratitude, and just feel like I feel pretty comfortable, which is a strange feeling for me, you know.
It shows. It
Yeah.
shows. It does show. Trust me. I've noticed it come over you. You know.
Yeah.
And, people say to me, like, I don't gamble and I don't buy lottery tickets because I've already won lottery.
Yeah.
I'm clean.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need to win lottery. I believe I've already won the lottery.
Yeah.
As we talked before off camera, I was a heroin addict, and but I would use anything to change the way I felt.
Mm.
If heroin wasn't around, it had to be injectable, but
Yeah.
it had to be injectable. None of this dropping it and waiting, or snorting it and waiting, or putting a suppository in my butt. It wasn't going to happen. It had to go in a fit, and had to go in there, and it had to be pushed in as fast as I could possibly put it away, because I wanted instant gratification.
Definitely.
And the thing I've learned with recovery is that the instant gratification comes over time.
Mm.
It's still instant gratification, but it just comes over time, and it seems to last a lot longer. The stone of this has never changed, like everything I ever used eventually stopped working.
Yeah. This
The
is
program, the program I've got doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It gets better.
Yeah.
People, I remember when people used to, when I came back from my relapse in 1986, a lady came over from America. Her name was Sydney. Her husband was Rob, and they were clean a long time. They've been clean since I think since the 60s or something like that. They've been in NA in America. And she said to me, "Oh, Ron, you're a newcomer for the first 10 years. And I thought, fuck off. At that stage, there was no one in Australia that was clean 10 years.
Yeah.
In NA.
Yeah.
Fuck off. How egotistical. What a fucking big head to say that to me, And I just come back from a relapse after 5 years, And what? Once I got to 10 years, I realised that she was right.
Yeah.
And I still say it today, I'm a newcomer. I'm one shot away from being a junkie.
Yeah. I have heard that before, but other people too say about the first 10 years. I think is, if you've been using for 15, you can't really sort of expect to be completely changed in the matter of 10 years.
Yeah, I've been clean longer than I've half my lifetime. I only used for 7 years.
Yeah.
Life was destroyed within 7 years.
Yeah.
Within 7 years, actually, I was in detox within 3 years of picking up heroin.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't stop. It took me another 4 years to get to rehab. Then it took me 5 years of being clean for 10 months, 12 months, then 30 months. I got 10 months, 12 months, then 30 months in recovery and relapsed because of different reasons. The first time I relapsed because alcohol is not a drug.
Yeah.
And it is. Because I thought alcohol is not my problem. I just have a few years.
It's definitely a drug.
That turned to shit. And the last time I relapsed was I'd been clean for 30 months. The second time I relapsed was a fuck you, a relationship.
Yeah.
It was like, nah, fuck you, I'll show you. I'll use and you'll feel so bad.
Yeah, I've done that one.
She didn't give a fuck. She just went and slept with some other guy in the fellowship. You know what I mean? So that one didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And the last one was I'd been clean for 30 months. I'd been around the program for 5 years. Had a lot of information, didn't know how to work any of it. Met a young girl who was using, spent the night with her, shot her up a couple of times. Thought, fuck, I got this fucked. Got up the next morning and said, I'll just have a shot with her and I'll go back on Monday and say I'm 1 day clean. Who cares? It took me 5 months.
Yeah.
That 1 day took me 5 months. It was the most disgusting, horrific using of my life.
Yeah, it's gross.
Because once you've been clean and you have a gut full of drugs and a head full of information, the turmoil is unconsolable and uncontrollable.
100%.
I was using with this young girl and I'd have a shot and be a Wednesday night and I'd say, oh, the Paddington meetings. And she'd been doing A2 and she'd go, I'd say, oh, the Paddington meetings on the night. She'd go, can you fuck up?
Yeah.
Like, you're just ruining my stone. Like, you have a shot and all you do is talk about recovery.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
I've taken quite a few hostages in my time, and the whole time I'm using with them, I'm just talking about, we'll get clean and we'll do this and we'll do that. It's just like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, this young girl and I, we were on 120 mil of done, and I jumped off the done, and she came and see me at an NA meet, and I lied to her. I said, if you jump off the dome, our relationship will go, there was no relationship. Our relationship will blossom after we get clean together. Anyway, she went and jumped off the dome. I was just trying to help her get clean. And we're still mates today.
Oh, wow.
She never got clean.
No.
She never got clean. It was sad. It was really sad. And I'd drive past and she'd be standing on a corner working at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'd say, what are you doing? And as soon as she'd see me, she'd go, oh, fuck off. I say, hey, baby, what's happening? No one there. Get in the car, motherfucker. She'd say, Ron, go away. And I'd say, get in.
Yeah.
And I knew where she lived. She lived, about 40 minutes out of the city where she was working. And she'd look at me and she'd go, you're going to fuck me night up. No, I'm going to save your night.
Yeah.
100 to get on in the morning, get in the car, I'm driving you home. Because 3 o'clock in the morning, the only mugs on the street are bad fuckers.
Yeah.
Desperate, horrible men,
Don't go there.
I say it all the time. What are you doing? She'd say, I'm selling flowers. I say, well, you've had a good night because there's none left. Get in the car. We're going home. Every time I follow up, I say, what are you doing? I say, I'm selling flowers. Say, well, you've sold them all. Get in the car.
Yeah.
Drive her home and I'd give her $100 so she'd get her first shot in the morning. And that was my way of giving back because when we were using, she looked after me. It was the first time in my life. My rock bottom was her earning. She was standing in the corner giving me my first shot. To me, that was my rock bottom. Don't worry about robberies and violence and gangster shit. That wasn't my rock bottom. Rock bottom was letting a girl look after me.
Yeah.
Hardest thing in my recovery. And I never want to forget that. Sleeping in a fucking broom closet in a brothel. And every time they'd come and take a towel, my pillow got smaller,
Yeah.
A towel, the pillows were getting smaller. I always say to people, don't forget the last week you're using.
No.
If you forget it, you'll go back to it. It is so important to remember where we came from.
Definitely.
Then how hard it was to get clean.
Yeah.
Staying clean is easy compared to getting clean.
Yeah.
Stopping using was fucking hard. Yeah. And the first 6 months is hard work. It is hard work.
Yeah.
Because we have a relationship with this filthy, rotten addiction. And I don't know if you've been through it yet. You'll go through a mourning period where you actually miss it.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship breakup. It's like, oh, that's my lover. That's my friend.
Yeah.
That's who I relied upon. If I felt this, I took that.
Yeah.
If I thought this, I took that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I think and I feel, and it's like, oh, what am I going to take? Yeah. And that's where we replace it with people. And we talk to somebody and we say, hey, man, this is how I'm thinking. They go, yeah, that's okay. That's normal.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, I thought I was the only one. No, get in line.
Yeah.
Get in line. We're not. The nice thing about this program is we're not that special.
No, we're not unique.
No, we're just garden variety.
Yeah.
Which is really humbling.
It is.
It's really nice to realize that you're not the king shit you thought you were, and you're not the piece of shit you thought you were.
I think that was a turning point in this recovery for me, was that stripping back that uniqueness. Like, I'm not unique. I'm a garden variety addict with garden variety trauma, garden variety trauma responses. And it's we're all the same.
It's funny. It's only been the last few years that we've started to talk about trauma.
Yeah.
Because in addiction, we never talked about trauma. A lot of years, addiction was talked about basically as a social problem.
Yeah.
The government took it on as a fucking criminal problem.
Yeah.
Mental health took it on, then they gave it away. They refused it again because that was going to cost the government money. So the AMA in America recognized addiction as a mental health problem.
Yeah.
Then what happened was all those people started flooding the insurance companies in America and said, well, if it's a mental health problem, we need help. You got to pay for it. And they withdrew their recommendations, and then they brought it back. But they actually stopped in America because of the financial cost on the society.
Yeah.
Now in Australia, we talk about the trauma, and because I've been privileged enough to do hundreds of 4 steps, I understand people's trauma.
Yeah.
And as I said to a lot of people, it doesn't have to be what other people would call massive. It's what affected you.
Exactly.
It's what affected you. It can be somebody who just doesn't think they're being given enough attention from their mum or their dad. Definitely. It doesn't have to be sexual abuse or physical abuse or spiritual abuse. Where mine was physical, spiritual, and not sexual to me, but sexual to everybody else. Abuse in my household. But, still that trauma.
It could be like weather, like floods.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And mine was a gangster. I've seen people shot. I've seen cops kicking doors down. So I had all this trauma, and I didn't recognize that or relate to it
Yeah.
This is why I became a drug addict.
Yeah.
No, I had no understanding of that. And today I'm glad that we are starting to address the traumas.
Definitely.
Not everybody's got massive trauma.
No.
But it's
And
there.
they don't need to be an addict.
Yeah.
They don't
I have a
need-
client that I've worked with recently, and his dad's a cop and his mum's a cop and really successful, loving, beautiful family. He's an addict.
Mm.
Yeah.
Doesn't discriminate.
No, he's got other brothers and sisters, you know.
Yeah.
I've been involved with people whose family have been politicians at the highest level in Australia. You know?
I think you don't have to have trauma to be an addict, but being an addict is quite traumatizing too.
100%. Yeah. It does. You don't have to. I always say you don't have to be mad to be a junkie, but it helps.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be insane to be an addict, but geez, it fucking helps.
Definitely.
It makes it livable, you know. Because for me, the worst thing this disease ever did to me was convince me that it was telling me the truth.
Yeah. And that you were well.
Yeah, it convinced me that it was telling me the truth.
Yeah.
And then when it started to tell me that the world would be better off without me, and I started to believe it.
Yeah.
See, in all the years of me being in prisons and doing all the nasty things I did, I never thought about suicide. And I'm talking about I went to prison as a 17-year-old boy charged with 5 attempted murders. I was in a really bad situation, you know, where, you know, if I'd have been found guilty, you know, I could have got, you know, 50 or 60 years in prison as a 17-year-old boy. I never thought of killing myself ever. I'd never taken a drug at that stage either, mind you. Then when I got clean the first time and I relapsed, I thought about killing myself. Because what I thought was I can't keep living life as a using addict and I can't get clean.
Yeah.
And I'd lost that thing called hope.
Yeah.
And that's I think it's the worst thing in the world for an addict to lose is hope. You know, that's why I say to people, if they're relapses, just keep coming back.
Yeah.
You know, don't give up the hope. You know, just hope that you'll fucking one day find this desire. You know, I had the desire, but I didn't have the desperation.
Yeah.
I always thought that I could have one more. I always thought that, it wasn't that bad. You know, I had this disease of forgetfulness.
Yeah.
Very short memory of how horrible it really was.
Yeah.
And that's why when I talk about that time when I was with that young lady at my last relapse and she was standing on a corner working, I don't say that because I'm proud. I say that because I'm ashamed.
Yeah.
And I say that to remind myself to how low this disease took me.
Definitely.
Because doing an armed robbery wasn't hard for me.
No.
Sitting in a hotel room waiting for her to go out and work and come back and bring back some drugs for me, that was disgusting.
Yeah.
It was degrading, it was belittling because it went against everything of my concept of what a male was. Even my concept was fairly distorted. It still went against everything I believed in.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what it took. It took that for me to get to that point in my rock bottom to go, I can't do this. You know, I cannot look at myself in the mirror and say that this is acceptable and that it's a pass. There was no pass in it. You know, it was a fail as being a human being. So I'm a human being first. I'm a man second. I'm an addict third. And everybody's got to remember that because we get into recovery and we only focus on the addict.
Yes.
If they're a human female addict.
I've been having that little realization at the moment that like I'm still human, you know, like just because I'm having a meltdown, it doesn't mean my addiction, you know, my addiction's playing out or my recovery's fucked or, you know, like
Nice terms.
human.
Yeah. You're a human being, you're a lady, and then you're an addict.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we start to remind ourselves of that because we come into recovery and we focus on the addict.
Yeah.
We start blaming everything around us for the addict. It's like, no. Yeah.
You do a bad behavior and you're like, oh, I'm such an addict or something, you know, but we're just human.
We're human beings, mate.
I think that allows us to have like a bit of compassion for ourselves too, which we're so bad at.
It's really important. You know, I got clean in 1986 and I said to my sponsor, who I've had the whole time, because I didn't have a higher power. I didn't believe in gods. And I said, what's your higher? And, you know, we went through my 4-step and he said, oh, you've got a God of fear. No wonder you can't get clean.
Yeah.
He said, do you give money to someone you don't trust to get on? I said, no fucking way. He said, well, how are you going to hand your will over to something that you don't trust? And I asked him what his higher power was. He said his higher power loved him, understood him, and forgave him.
Yeah.
Those were the three things I wanted most in the world, was love, understanding, forgiveness.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I stole his, because I'm a thief, I stole his higher power. And the characteristics of higher power, love, understanding, forgiveness. And then as we started going through the steps and all that stuff, and I'd start to get angry at myself, he'd say, well, wait a minute, does your higher power love you?
Yeah.
Yeah. He said, well, how arrogant are you not to love yourself? So you're your own higher power.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, I got you.
That makes
Does
sense.
your higher power forgive you? Yeah. Well, how the fuck are you not to forgive yourself? So he manipulated me in that way of me saying that, okay, my higher power is love, understanding, forgiveness. Therefore, I need to get the hell out of that situation and trust my higher power's loving, understanding, forgiveness, so that I can love, understand, and forgive myself. And when that started, I start to understand and forgive other people.
Yes.
I don't forget. Don't get me wrong. I don't forget. I'm a human being. I don't forget. Someone does the wrong thing by me, I'll pray for forgiveness, but I won't pray for forgetfulness. If I forget, I'll go back and let him do it to me again.
Exactly.
You know, I don't make the same mistake and expect different results. You know, I work this program diligently in all areas of my life. You know, I mean, I do. You know, this program's written a set of principles so simple. You know, and in my program, I run a thing called the demands. It's called the 8 demands. It's openness, acceptance, reliability, congruence, thoroughness, consistency, respect, and honesty. And I teach people those before I teach them the 12 steps.
Yeah. Spiritual
principles. Yeah, spiritual principles, exactly. And at the bottom of that, it's got action. You take the I out of the middle and put I act on these demands.
Yeah.
You know, so I teach, when I do my program, I teach that first. And then I bring the 12 steps into them. And I say, now work the 12 steps through these 8 demands.
Definitely.
Work them honesty. We work them open-mindedly. We work with acceptance. We're reliable. We're congruent. We're thorough and we're consistent and we're respectful and 100% honest. And for me, it's been working for a long time. You know, it's like everything else. If it works, don't change it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, move on. You know, it's another thing too with, I think it's really important in early recovery is to understand that you're allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, we think we've got to be perfect. Bullshit.
Yeah. I have huge expectations of myself and they, you know, it really like seeps into the world and onto other people. But I think it's just about, you know, I think the more that I find compassion for myself, the more I'm starting to get realistic expectations. But I think sometimes it's good to have expectations, but just as long as they're not like I'm doing things out of fear, I guess.
Yeah. Look, you've got to have desire. You've got to have expectation. You've got to have goals. Otherwise, you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's why I say to people, you know, it's important that you have a home group.
Yeah.
If you haven't got a home group, you're homeless.
Yeah.
How's that work out for us? You know, you've got to have plans, but you can't live in the future.
Yeah.
You can make plans. And, you know, you've also got to have an understanding that it could change.
Yeah.
I had an old guy who used to be a mate of mine. His name was Andy Anderson. He's dead now. He's in AA. He died at 64 years sober.
Wow.
So he had a long time up. And he said to me, you say to me all the time, the secret to recovery is acceptance.
Yeah.
He said, everything else is bullshit. And then he used to say this to me, the more meetings I do, the better my wife behaves. You know, so it was all about him. You know, he used to say it all the time. The more meetings I do, the better my wife behaves. In other words, the more bearable he was. So, you know, things like that are really important. I like listening to the old timers.
Yeah.
But they've been through it, you know, and their programs are usually really, really simplified because they've pissed off all the philosophical bullshit, you know, because the bottom line is you don't pick up for one day at a time.
Yeah.
You talk to somebody who cares about you. You share honestly. You help other human beings in all areas of your life. You try to be respectful and honest and thorough, you know. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you want to cut someone off the road too. That's the side. Sometimes I'm sure you working in a cafe, sometimes you feel like saying, mate, just fuck off.
Yeah. You
know, some people are so rude. And that's normal. What we don't do is we don't act out on it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. My best mate, the guy I grew up with, I used with, and we've been clean together, and his mum and dad took me in as a kid, and he owned a restaurant in Sydney. And And I turned up one day and I had all nice clothes on because I had a jewelry company, and he was short-staffed. One of the waiters hadn't turned up. He said, "Oh, mate, I'm flat out. Can you give us a hand?" I said, "Yeah, sweet." So I go to help serve this table. There's these 4 old ladies on it, and they were fucking rude. Like I went to take the plate. She looked at me like I tried to steal her purse. I was like, and I thought, oh. And I went outside and I took my shirt off. I was standing in the kitchen with no shirt on and said to the kitchen guy, "Mate, go out and wait on tables and I wash the dishes."
Yeah.
Because I didn't have what it took to wait on tables. I didn't have the patience and tolerance,
Yeah.
So I'll hit the old, the word I said I won't use. I'll hit her on the head with a plate, the fucking old bitch,
I've started to learn that too. I was just shared about it the other night. I said, at 10 months clean, I'm finally learning to just shut my mouth. I don't need to tell everyone what I think of them or fucking, yeah.
That's the whole point. It is. I got to that point where I was like, yeah, well, you can fuck off,
Yeah, exactly.
So I was disgusted. And then, I go to restaurants and no matter where I go to, I treat the staff really nicely.
Yeah.
I always do. I treat the staff really politely, really nicely.
Yeah.
Exactly the same way as I treat the owner, unless they're pricks. If they're pricks, I say, "Mate, you're a prick. Get someone else to serve you." That part won't change because I'll always be open and honest with people. So you're living in the halfway house now?
Yeah.
How many people live in there?
There's 5 of us.
Okay, and that's in Maroochydore or somewhere anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Sippy Downs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's good.
And you just working, going to
Just
12-step
working.
program,
Yeah.
got a sponsor.
I'd love to do something eventually. Like I don't have any plans around it, but I'd love to do something eventually with, people in recovery or mental health or something. But just for now, focus on me.
That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. Because I got a thing that was told to me. It says you take care of your recovery take care of everything else.
Exactly.
And I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
After all these years, I still sit down sometimes and shake my head and go like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. I've never trusted anything in my life, and trusting the process has been the first thing that I've ever trusted. And it hasn't proved me wrong yet. And I've been able to trust people and trust my decision making and all of that kind of stuff now. So that's really nice.
I say it all the time. The program will never let you down. The fellowship will.
Yeah.
Because we're human beings and we're addicts and we're male or
Exactly.
female. But the program will never fail you. The 12-step program will never fail. If you work it, it won't. I've seen it too long.
I've spent 10 years in and out, and the one thing that I haven't done is the program. So this time I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I have to do.
Oh, $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, God love you.
I got a fighting chance.
It's a beautiful program. It is. The rewards are phenomenal. And it's important that you talk about the rewards because, if it wasn't better than using, I'd be using.
Exactly.
That's the honest truth. That's the nature of me.
Definitely.
I'm I'm very I like good things. I didn't plan to sleep in the park.
No.
I don't apologise for making money. I don't apologise for working my ass off 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 25 years. I don't apologise for the things I own. I don't apologise for having nice things. And I don't believe I'm entitled to them. I believe I've earned them.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, it doesn't matter if I turn up somewhere in a Toyota Hilux or in a brand new Mercedes, I still get the same amount of time.
Exactly.
Still feel exactly the same when I step out of that car. So it's not the car that makes me feel good. It's me that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It's what I do in my daily life. And the way I treat myself and other people is so important to me that I treat myself the same way as I expect other people to treat me.
Yeah.
And I treat other people the same way as I want to treat myself.
Yeah.
Same respect and dignity. You've got to have that dignity I don't know about you, but I was really scared that if I got clean, I'd become a doormat.
Yeah.
I was really afraid of that. I was really scared of that because I had such a big ego. I'd grown up in a gangster world where, you're tough guy and all, today tough guy is someone who puts food on the table.
Yeah.
That's a tough guy. Someone whose wife or children aren't afraid of them. Someone whose friends can ring him up and say, "Oh man, I'm fucking doing it tough. Can you come over?"
Yeah.
Or, or can you lend me something, or can you help me do something, or can you I like being asked to do things.
Yeah.
Where before, I didn't have time to do anything and just had to get on.
Yeah.
My whole life
You do
revolved.
meet a lot of people like that in recovery, you don't meet them out there using.
No. It's all about me, me, me.
Yeah.
But I think we're blessed. We should be extremely grateful for what we've got and not for what we haven't got.
Yeah.
Because for what we haven't got, it's only a matter of time before we've got it.
Yeah.
I went through periods of my life where I put a picture of something I like because I'm a car head. I'd put a picture up on a wall or on the computer later on now because we're into computers and all that shit. I'd put it up as my screensaver, and that'd be a matter of time, and it'd evolve, and then it'd be parked in my garage.
Yeah.
I remember doing an interview with a magazine about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and they said, "What is your ultimate car? What would you, if you had any car, what would you have?" And I said, "Oh, it's called a Corvette ZR1." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah." Sitting there, and I can look out my garage. I can look at my office door, and I've got one parked in my garage. There's only 2 of them in Australia.
Wow.
And like that was, and I was doing this interview, and it's about cars. I built cars, and all them cars behind me, the cars that I built. And he said to me, that was from a magazine. "What car would you have if you could have any car?" And it was 2018, so the car hadn't even been built yet. I said the 219 Corvette ZR1, it was only going to be made for 1 year. And I sit out there, and I got one sitting in my garage.
Wow.
Because I had the ability to earn the money, but I also had the patience to wait, and the drive, and I went without.
Yeah.
I went without a lot of things to get that.
Yeah, of
It
course.
wasn't like, "Oh, I'll just get that." It wasn't like that,
They're better sacrifices that we were taking,
Yeah.
when we were using.
Working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. I'm supposed to be retired. I still work my ass off.
Yeah.
I just come off a 3-month work bender. I work 7 days a week for 3 months solid. Now I'm having 3 months off.
Good. Take it easy.
Yeah, then I'll work 3 months again. I'll do another 3 months bender.
Yeah.
But that's the way I do it these days. The nice part is I choose. Again, here's that word, choose.
Yep.
To do what I want to do. Because before we got clean, we didn't have a choice.
No way.
Our whole life revolved around the getting and using and finding ways and means to get more drugs.
Definitely.
Today I'm not governed by this disease. Today, this disease has been arrested, and it's really nice for it to be sitting in the corner with a set of handcuffs on. Don't worry, he tries to get to me in other areas of my life, and I'm a human being. I'm a male, and I have these crazy thoughts, but they're thoughts.
Yeah.
They're
Thoughts
not
are
patterns.
instructions.
You don't go to jail for what you think.
Yeah.
Not unless you tell someone. No. You go to jail for what you're thinking, yeah. All right, darling. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Rod.
For having you on. I really, really am so happy that you came on and shared your time with us.
Yeah, thank you.
So important. So important for me to, especially for me to get out to the ladies.
Yeah.
Because I want the ladies to know that they've got a safe place to come to.
Definitely.
It's somewhere they can come and they can find other strong, beautiful women like yourself that help them.
Thank you.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.